And welcome back here after the break here. Once again, I'm Nisu, joined here one more time with Mirko, and we have the last match for you guys for the American Regional Qualifiers for IESF, the road to Riyadh here. It's down to these two teams, I should say, for today anyway. Of course, we've had games happening all throughout the day, but this is now we get to go to America's B, that group, because up next, of course, it's going to be the matchup between the teams, the countries, Argentina and Brazil. Mirko, how are we feeling about this? I know it's been a day of sweeps so far, some quick games, but how you feeling about this matchup right here?
I think especially when we're talking about Argentina versus Brazil, we already had this discussion off cam as well, but if there was a match, if there was a series to go all the way, it probably is going to be this one, right? Both of these teams, way more experience compared to the other teams that we've seen today. We've seen Brazil many times in international tournaments, Argentina as well. And if you guys take a look at the lineups, we will see that in a bit. You'll definitely see some very familiar names that you have seen in international tournaments and heck, even world championships before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good way to put it, because so far from what we've seen, at least on the stream, is some pretty one-sided games, right? For the most part. And I think so far from what I've seen, man, it's just like a difference in terms of, like, even when it comes to drafting, some of the drafting has been kind of unique, obviously, to some of the teams that decided to bring some interesting picks to the table. Lastly, we saw Carmilla and the Sicilian combination. We saw some Hylos now a couple times. And I'm wondering what these somewhat familiar names for a lot of people out there will bring to the table. Starting off with Argentina, of course, we're going to have Valentin Civ Covelli. We have Lionel Meteoro, Denario, Thomas Arctic Ibarra, Pablo Paquito Balog, Diego Jotun Balog. So it looks like we have some family once again, at least for the team from Argentina here. And, that's what I'm saying, man, is like, I would say so far, good way to put it is, I mean, even your the last series you casted with United States, obviously familiar names there. You can see how different it is, the way that some of these teams that have this more experience move around the map. Even if they pick something up in the draft that might be kind of niche for them, it's mostly coming down to like this early game rotation. Even here, now that we're in the American regional qualifiers, that I'm noticing is the way that they rotate around the map early on, the way that they put pressure, or the way that they kind of go through this like risk reward potential with the draft. Like if they are going to pick up an assassin, so far we've seen teams kind of punish it. Actually, the previous match, I don't know if you were able to catch it, but Ecuador even went with double retribution, and that was just to like slow down Barrett's against a Hayabusa who is already going to be slow. And they just like decided to punish it even further by taking a double retribution. Was that intended? I don't know, right? But go ahead and take us through the lineup here from Brazil.
Here it is. We got Abrao Jumpstyle Santos. We have Victor VW Santos. Gustavo Sosa. We have Matthias Yuji Samandi. And Victor Chukaku Style Cardoso. So we got a double styles here coming from Brazil. We got Jump Style and Chukaku Style. Definitely very interested to see how stylish they are in the game, right? I mean, what is their style? Because we were mentioning earlier already, foreshadowing this moment of some players who've already played in the World Championships. If you guys don't know, Jump Style actually played the Red Canids team for M3. Back then, it was still with Luna on Botak, if you guys know. And they weren't able to, do too well at M3, but that was their first ever World Championships, and that was really, I think, the first time we saw Brazil in an international tournament ever. So it's come a long way since then. Very excited to see what he has to bring onto the table right now, representing his nation.
Yeah, I think if I recall right, Luna was competing in IESF last year, and so this time around it's going to be Jump Style. And also, I looked it up for a bit because I wanted to kind of know what he accomplished recently over in their league, especially because they had season 1 for. I believe it was they merged it. They used to have like super leagues and everything, so they merged it into a season 1, and he had the most kills in season 1 with 125. So we'll see if this new meta, if this play style is going to favor Jump Style specifically, or even just as a team here. But even on the flip side, like the team from Argentina, they look good, and the experience that they had so far, and they've kind of got a mix too, you know, of players that have different experiences from different teams, and now they've formed, of course, this national team for them. So I think this is going to be it should be a 3-game series. Like, if we're gonna have anything today on day number 1 at all sweeps, this should definitely be a possible 3-game series where I think it's gonna highlight the play styles specifically, right? Because so far, I mean, we've seen teams that can make the assassin picks work. We talked about this in match 1, where how we think obviously the jungle is the role right now. And I think already off with jump style there, and thinking about what Argentina will bring to the jungle to match up with it, that's really where we're seeing a lot of the games kind of fall into place, is that early game, man. And, you know, for better or for worse, I don't know. Like, I think there's like 2 sides to this argument. Like, people like the fact that the average game time maybe went down a little bit, you know, and it's faster paced. It's a little more momentum based than it has been in the past. What do you feel about that? Like, do you like the fact that it is more kind of this focus on early game to mid game transition, where you have these momentums really shifting? Like, how do you feel about it?
After seeing, you know, games go very, very late with the utility jungle style, with, you know, playing around your gold lane and your mid lane, playing for the mid to late, I think it's a very, very welcome change to MLBB. So personally, I really like the change, especially considering we've only had I wouldn't even say a couple months. We have literally had like a solid month of this meta. So I think it can be expanded a bit more, but we can already see that Moonson has released a new patch, updated the game. And in that patch alone, they made it as though the Summon Lord, at least the first one, will have less HP. So it's going to be very easy for a lot of teams to clear it out, as long as you have a pretty good composition to wave clear. It should be good to get rid of that first Summon Lord, and it should prolong the game time. And technically, we have been seeing that as well. I think especially in the high tier games, a lot of games have been going to like 30 minutes, 28 minutes. Yeah. So again, I think for me, this is a really good spot that we are in. I think we can see a lot of fast-paced games still, despite the change, but we can still see a lot of games go past 20-minute mark, past the Evolve Lord mark. And I think we actually did get to see that all the way in match number 1 already too, right? We saw a 20-minute game.
20, yeah. What's the perfect time for you? I would say like 18 to 20-ish minutes is probably perfect time area.
18 to 19.
18 to 19, not the 20.
Below 20. Yeah.
Below 20. Well, you know, I would say like in let's say it's a best of 3 or a best of 5, even 18 to 20. Or you get one game in that best of 5 even that goes like 25 plus, you know, then you get to that point. But we've seen like what those long games can be like, you know. I know we've casted a couple recently that went to that 25 plus minute mark, and what that turns into is basically a very scary kind of lord to deal with, and how teams kind of approach that, and becomes a mini game inside of the game itself. And I think for the most part, it's just, at least through the IESF journey so far, you obviously have these teams with different levels of experience, and some teams that obviously have more, you know, they are able to just take control and snowball things really quickly, where sometimes they even end without a Lord, you know, without the first Lord take, like what we saw earlier, where the Angela Ling was picked up right off the bat from Ecuador, and I don't know, actually can't recall if that was the fastest game so far that we've seen just altogether. It was under 10 minutes, you know, it was 9 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. I know back in the Africa qualifier, we had quite a fast one. Can't recall if it was under the 9-minute mark. But hey, we're jumping the draft here. Game number 1, best of 3, of course. And our trip has been out. Angela is out here. I guess we're one of that competition we'll talk about, because I still think, you know, Ling and the Angela and the Ling combination is so deadly for early game momentum building up. We'll see what bands are going to come through here. Edith, good choice. Constantly picked up in a lot of the competitive matches we've been watching.
Yeah, Edith has been really, really good. I mean, at this point, again, it's following the trend, right? For blue side, you're more you're going to be more compelled, I would say, to go for the respect bands over the prio bands, and you're basically trying to leave as many prio heroes open. And right now, I feel like Zask definitely the top prio for any team. Whenever you get that, you just have so many ways to actually tackle the team fights, and especially if you are up against dive compositions. You just want to go Dominator's Descent and completely bully those dives. But now, the Edith and the Angela, I'm not too sure what they actually want to ban out next, right? Because the Ling technically has been left open as well, and maybe Brazil, their way to tackle the blue side full respect ban is to leave a lot of the other prio picks open as well, so they can actually go for a trade. So let's say the Zas gets left open, they leave the Ling and the Roger open as well, so they can actually pick 2 prio heroes for the traded one for Argentina.
Okay, they really doubled down on the roam options here. That's pretty much what's getting taken out. Yeah, they don't want to deal with that. So I think this is, regardless of what this last ban's going to be here for the first phase from Brazil, there's a lot left on the table, you know, for all the roles. I mean, even nearly for the jungle alone, you know, there's so many options here for both teams that they can take. And I think so far from what we've seen, the teams that want to take that risk and go the assassin jungler route, it all works great. You know, it all works great for the most part. I would say it works better than if you are going to go for utility. So a lot left on the table. Terizzle, the last ban here. We'll see if they want to go and prioritize first pick an assassin. Ling being open, you know, the Argentina is the one that banned out the Angela. So I'm not sure if they would actually pick this up unless they have something else in mind. Roger still open. Anything else you've seen picked up first side, blue side recently?
I'm thinking Zask instantly. Every
Zask,
time
Roger.
that hero's open, I just always think Zask, yeah.
Just Zask, there
you
it is.
go. Zask first pick for Argentina. Brazil have a lot of different ways to actually, you know, respond to this. They can go for the Ling, obviously. It's been a massive pick for everyone, especially considering, at least for Brazil, they can still utilize, you know, jump style playing in this matchup with the Ling. He is known to be an assassin player, so it would definitely fit his style to go for the Ling. But if they want to go for the Ling Roger, usually you go for the Roger in the first phase to try to flex that pick, right? So, yeah. My guess is they don't want to pick the Roger together with the Ling. They go for the Ling and get with the Valentina there. Good way to actually respond up against the Zask. If it's not a fair miss, usually it's the Valentina to try to steal away the Dominator's Ascent and use what Zask can use too. Use those little Johnny boys. Well, the big Johnny, technically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good choice. It's a good way to cover the grounds. This is interesting too. Julian and then the Ruby. Very standard, I feel like, at this point. Like, these are some standard picks coming up. Julian obviously rose in popularity once again over the past month, you know, I would say. And part of the job, honestly, is depending on the build path you go here, it could also just be to lock in a Genius Wand in one of those first items and then help reduce that magic resistance, of course, and that complements the Zask really well. Tigreal's great. I feel like this is almost one of those sure to answers that pops up time and time again with a Zask is across from them. And, you know, it's just, how many times have we seen the implosion be so devastating for a lot of the teams here and just work wonders? Because when you have a Ling paired up, like, what better way to enter into a fight than a, you know, at least 2-3 member plus implosion? I think that's what makes Tigreal obviously so devastating here. And we'll see them. Argentina goes and bans out the Roger too for the second phase. We had Grok from Brazil on the other side. They're probably still going to go ahead, and I'm wondering if they want to narrow down gold lane at all. Unless, what if this is actually going to be you think a gold lane Ruby possibility still flexing into this for Argentina?
Yeah, I think that's why the Ruby is picked up here. Technically, Ruby is one of the only picks that can be flexed into 3 different roles, right? The XP, Roam, and then the gold lane. So
just like the new Arlet.
Argentina, the new Arlet, yeah. Definitely. Back in the day, it was the Arlet, right? You go XP, you can go Roam.
XP, Roam.
Technically, yeah, you can play gold too. We have seen that before, but I think Ruby takes that up a notch a bit, right? Like, I mean, the Ruby does well in every single role that she gets placed in. Kufra, though, going to be a band out there, really just setting up for the Ling. And I agree with you. Tigreal is just a solid choice here for Team Brazil. The fact that they've already taken Valentina as well there. So no way for Argentina to try to retaliate up against that ultimate. and it's a really, on top of the, the combos that you can do with the Ling, with the Valentina, it's just a really solid pick. Anything with an instant CC kind of engage up against an assassin, it's always a welcome addition to the composition right now. But for Argentina, it seems like, with the Roger ban, trying to take away as much snowballing power as they can, right? Good Thamas ban as well, that plays into snowballing power, because usually with the Ling, you want to combo with the Ling together with heroes that actually win up in the matchups in both XP and gold, so that you have so much more kill pressure to play around, and you can get that snowball rolling from the get-go. Now it puts Brazil in a tough spot with no Roger. They can go for Brody, but it's just super risky. So safe choice would still be, I would say, the Harith if they still want to go for kill pressure. But if they want to go for a safer choice, it'll probably be Claude, Moskov. They go for the Claude here, and it does give the opportunity for Argentina to actually go for the Moskov themselves. I don't think they'll go for the Harith here, because they already have the Julian and the Zask. It'll be too greedy to go for another magic damage, Arc's gold laner.
Definitely. I think good point. Pick up the Moskov. They go Barretts here, so I'm still wondering, right? Like, XP Barats. Let's see what this last pick is going to be too, because Zask in the mid, Julian in the jungle, Ruby. We don't know yet. It has to be a range, right? It has to be Moskov. Not sure what else you would actually want to go and face against Claude.
Oh,
it's gonna be carry. Interesting that they go with the carry though, because her range is obviously so short, and you're gonna have to deal with constant pressure with a Ling. So you really have to kind of rely on the peel that's going to come through from, Daytona's welcome can serve that purpose, but it's most likely going to be used for the setup potential. Ruby as well is hopefully able to peel for carry here. Maybe a Purify is going to be used as well. And then here's an Xborg. So this is good. I would say for both sides, you can highlight both drafts, but even for Brazil, man, this Xborg last pick, there's so much like AoE damage from this lineup alone. And then the Valentina takes, of course, the Zask, and can narrow down on some of that single target damage. So Brazil's lineup, very AoE based. And I feel like if Argentina can just avoid that for a little bit, avoid some of those initial setup potentials, whether that's a Last Insanity into the Implosion or vice versa, Blazing Duet, as long as they can avoid a lot of that damage, or even get a numbers advantage by taking someone down, then their lineup could possibly shine, especially if they can get to the later game where carry shines, but early game magic damage is actually going to be quite a threat over to Brazil here. So we'll see how it all plays out. Once again, Brazil's lineup and Argentina for game number 1 of this best of 3 is actually just very good for both sides. Their power spikes as well going to be very similar in a way, where they have good coverage from mid to late game. So let's go ahead and head on over into the land of dawn of this game number 1. It's a best of 3 here for Americas. It's Group B finally on the stream. We're going to get to some action here from Group B as they go about it. Let's take a look at the emblems too. Anything sticking out? Nothing too much. I mean, it is Chessmaker going to bring this Warcry emblem on the Ling, of course.
Yeah, I think, again, by the way, we were talking about how this matchup is probably the matchup that we will see a full game series in. And I think from the draft itself, you can already see a very competitive drafting phase, right? Yeah. Both of them just trading picks here and there. Great prio and great counter picks, too, because you can already see Akira in the bottom lane absolutely bullying the Dino and Arctic here on the Barats. It's the counter matchup that we all kind of know. Chessmaster, though, going to go in with the Tempest Blaze. Now getting the knock on a Jotun. A lot of damage placed down, actually just first blood, unable to use the enhanced sword in time, Jotun. I think he did. He already used the cycle of skills to go for the grab. Instead, Chessmaker already the bottom lane with the fish poise, picking up another kill. Meteoro forced back, and Chessmaker is everywhere on the map right now.
So, all right, great start here for Brazil. Obviously, this is what happens when you have a Ling and you get these early kills. This is great for any team that grabs that. But also, interestingly enough, is this right? Was the Zask there in the bottom side the entire time? Did they actually put the Ruby in the mid lane? Zask XP? Is that how, or did he just rotate down there? Again, I guess this Barrett's was down there because the way they're trying to get these level 4s, I guess, to be online for this turtle fight. So they're going to keep it at bay here. Still level 4s coming online. And they'll go ahead and start it up. Chessmaker on the side.
MFN flicker now cancelled by MFN. Good enhanced sword by Jonan to escape as Arctic. We blown up just a bit. Shikaku style going in again. It's going to be another full engage there, but it's still going to be the Expert who wins on a turtle. Oh, good stun into Chessmaker, locking him down even with the Dominator's Ascent. Shikaku still able to dash out as Mateus goes back to mid, relieves some of the pressure here, and tries to stop and deny Jotun to go for some of the clear, but he's still able to do so. Good flicker out of the I'm Offended there from VW up top.
All right, yeah, they're back to the normal. It's, you know, it's early in the morning here at this point, so it is standard. I had to question myself for a little bit there, but yeah, so it was good pickup for Argentina, able to get a kill on Chessmaker, because that's what I was saying earlier, man. Like, you know, early on, you want to stop that momentum from happening, and that's exactly what they had to do. They had to get a kill on him, slow him down a little bit, and then work from there. You still have to respect the fact, too, that this Julian damage that we've seen time and time again is such a threat early on, especially like we saw once you clash down, because honestly, for Jotun, all he has to do is wait for the implosion setup from Shikaku style, and then just go ahead and use the enhanced chains or whichever combination he wants to use.
The pick off with the implosion. Oh, Donra Wolf King onto 4. Cario still able to flicker out of safety. Goes in for I'm Offended. Chessmaker will utilize this to try to go for the chase, but man, despite all those ultimates being used up, that was well played by Cario to get out.
Yeah, great usage. Also with that flicker. Arctic now here, they know this is where we put the pressure. Go ahead and put the pressure on Chessmaker, even for his buffs if they can. Trying to get out if he has a retribution, but he didn't have it there, so able to secure it. Relying on his team too to help him out. So at this point, you know, this is again throughout all the series that we've seen today, this is the closest, you know, so far, especially in the early game. Looked like another I'm Offended was going to be used there. Did not find any connection against Brazil. So it comes down to a turtle fight, you know, and you don't have a couple of these ultimates available just yet. So we'll see how they play into this. Chessmaker just getting that Tempest of Blades back as well. Going to go ahead and wait possibly for that orange buff. So the teams will go ahead and both kind of pull this turtle and start it up. It's going to go through a reset as they get in position, as both teams kind of work on the buffs here. Jotun, though, goes in. They know he wants the orange.
The enhanced side too. That's going to be the turtle secured down by Jotun. Good implosion onto 2 members. Wins to the last Insanity. VW still able to BMI defensively. Dominator's Ascent, Meteoro all isolated. Force to flicker out. Jotun goes for the immobilization. Finds Chessmaker. Great punish. Now another stun onto Mateus, who still has Dominator's Ascent. Will be able to pop it and then flickers out of it too to get out. I think that was a win for Argentina with the neutral objective take.
Yeah, neutral objective. And once again, they find Chessmaker. Chessmaker jumping in, not expecting Jotun to be there. And once again, you're seeing just how fast, you know, these members from Brazil do go down once Jotun is there, part of the fight. Also, it looks like they're going to go ahead and grab themselves an objective now. First turret of the game on their top side, tier 1. Great placement, great macro play actually from Argentina here, already starting the game under that 6-minute mark. Keeping things, you know, pretty close still in terms of economy. We're going to have to take a look at the items here, seeing how they're falling into place too. Depending on these build paths, again, a lot of build paths right now are kind of flexible, especially when it comes to, you know, these side lanes being available to you. Akira, though, could be in trouble here.
Still has the Faraga armor. Gets out of the death as welcome because of the Faraga armor. You can already see just how impressive, or just how sort of how good you are on the export to escape a lot of the pick-off potential. So Akira dealing a lot of damage onto the frontliners and also getting out. The double bonus Arctic though, taking a lot of damage there. Tempest of Blades gonna be used up right now by Chessmaker. He doesn't decide to go in. Notices that Meteoro has already used Dominator's Ascent, and that's a good steal from Mateus. Might be able to use it now, as the turtle will be spawning in 10 seconds.
Okay, here we go. Before that turtle comes up, you can already see it, right? Chessmaker's got that Berserker's Fury. Working on the next item there as well. Golden Staff now picked up for Civ. Civ has just been farming up his, you know, as well as he can, pretty much just continuing to get his items locked in. Even for VW, though, VW has multiple assists already. So this fight for this turtle is actually going to come down to a full-on fight, except for VW, unless they delay it enough. But I think he's just busy.
Oh, Nintendo's welcome to cancel out the implosion right now as the last insanity gets plays out as well. Jotun still winning out in the retreat battle, chasing the back line as the Temple of the Blaze gets used up. Jotun caught very low. Battle mirror image traded to the blazing duet now, diving in. Meteoro, the word of dominance just sent, finding the stun now, going to VW, who has to run away. But Meteoro is very low, still able to escape. Chessmaker, pinch poise, flicker from Meteoro. Chessmaker cannot go for the chase down below. Civ able to get the turret here, as he will be able to escape as well. VW and Mateus unable to go for the chase.
Okay, interesting to see that. Yeah, Meteoro was able to survive, and that's just the strength of that Zas. There's an I'm offended, but BMI is going to be just fine. Get out of there. He has the Corrosive Scythe, the DHS locked in now too, and there on the flip side, of course, the carry been able to farm up for Civ here. Corrosive Scythe, Golden Staff working on the next. So both, gold laners are going to hit that spike at the same time. Chessmaker takes a couple shots. Once again, you got to respect that damage from this Julian pick. So far, it's pretty good for Argentina. They hold on to a small lead. They're in a good position to take that first Lord once it comes up in under a minute here. Biggest thing, though, is every time we see some of these fights, it's really, Brazil with their setup potential. They got to be kind of careful how they approach it, because that's exactly what's happening. You saw the Genius Wandy also just being picked up by Jotun, so this helps even more. The Dominator's Ascent is already quite deadly, and it actually keeps Brazil kind of a little hesitant on how they approach some of the fights. So if you go in an implosion setup, you're going to kind of just rely on being able to get enough of that AoE damage out, but then who do you focus on from there? Because if you're stuck sitting there targeting, locking on, the big Johnny, the big alien, when that Dominator's Descent is popped, a lot of that time is actually wasted here, and it allows Civ to go ahead and free hit from his position favor. So Lord's now up. This now comes to it where both these teams, again, this is the most even, I would say, that we've seen this Lord fight about to happen here. It looks like it's going to be started up, though, by Argentina. And while Brazil gets in position, it's already half health.
Gonna go for it. Enhanced sword into the front. Good. Burst down. That's his welcome now. Spitting him out. Faraga armor coming down. Shukaku still able to find an implosion now with a shove too. Arctic still able to flick around. VW goes over to Blazing. Wow. Gets stepped up now. Where the Dominator's Descent. Well played, Jotun. Enhanced chain to knock Shukaku style up for Civ to go for it. Jotun gonna be terrified and now gunned down by VW, who claims a double. That's a 3 for 2, but Argentina got the Lord.
Yeah, it almost seemed like Brazil was just like, you know what? Just let him have the Lord. We want to win the fight. Mateus, not sure. Can he? Oh, hold on.
Dominator's Descent stolen away. Still able to go for it. Civ now dashing forward. Meteoro had to burn the flicker earlier there. And it seems for Argentina, they're going to be A-okay. They still have the Lord to play with.
Yep, okay. So they're fine with that. I thought Mateus might be able to go ahead and pick up a kill there, a last-minute kill. But at least he gets a balance ball, he gets a flicker out. They still have to deal with the Lord, which should be made quick work of. Again, they're pretty itemed out at this point. They also pick up an endless battle here for Chessmaker. They still need some more time. This is now at the point where you see some of these defensive items picked up too, once they have those 2-3 offensive items locked in. And so for Brazil, again, they hold on to as much as they can. They're going to lose this mid lane turret in the tier 1. Oh, wow, Mateus.
Gotta be careful, though. That's last insanity. Used up already, a big resource, but nonetheless, Brazil are still able to actually clear out the first Lord. Chessmaker was spotted on the bottom side, and Gario almost catches Chessmaker there. Almost stops that recall from happening. Definitely going to be a tough spot to escape from with 4 members around. But great defense from Brazil. And if you can take a look at the gold lead as well, it's down to just 1,000 now. It was 3,000 earlier.
Yep.
And again, closest game we've had all day.
That's a no boots Ling, I believe. Unless this is an API thing, because we had it earlier too, I believe. So he's got to have boots, I'm assuming, right? He's got Berserk's Fury's House Claws, Endless Battle now. Unless he doesn't, and he's actually just jumping around no boots. But at this point, even for the rest of the team here, Brazil, good fighting power. Like you mentioned, they managed to go ahead and just negate that gold lead that Argentina had based on the macro decisions that they made. And even for the lineup here, you know, they kind of have to get through some of the defenses of Argentina if Brazil wants to turn the tide, because it seems like, once again, some of the fights, they're just kind of waiting for that moment, that setup potential, whereas Argentina is kind of slowly in the driver's seat right now. Concealed play gonna be committed, but they can't find anyone. They're just trying to force Argentina out of the jungle here for now and continue to farm up. Malefic Roar now picked up 2 for VW. Key item pickup, and earlier Civ also picked up his defensive item, the Wind of Nature. We'll see this time around, does Brazil just let another Lord go through?
Oh man, you can see that shred. It's just too much. Enhanced sight too. Jotun going for it, still able to get the retribution down. The Tempest Blaze comes down, able to knock him up. Civ using the Purify and also Wind of Nature. Now with the Blaze into it coming down. That's going to be Chessmaker finding the kill on the Civ. Still able to get the killing spree down though. Onto the Tigreal. That's 2 members down, just traded for Shikaku. Brazil again. They win out on the team fight, but they lose out the neutral objective.
Yeah, it's like, how long can you continue to do this? You know, like, how long can you continue to give up the objective, but you're winning the team fights? And now they're going to actually go ahead and focus on these tier 1s in the mid lane, try to get some space to work around with, because even though they lost the Lord, Chessmaker holds it down the bottom side, at least for as long as he can before he's spotted out, pushed out of there. But I would guess for Brazil, again, they keep things relatively even. At this point, though, you know, for the next Lords after this, you don't want to just let them slip through, because it gets increasingly harder to do what they're doing now. They will be able to manage these waves, be able to manage the Lord. I'm not sure if Argentina can make a further play. Jotun also might get spotted out here. It looks like they want to go for a flank.
Very clear. Jotun pops the chain down. Doesn't find the immobility. Shikaku has implosion. That's why he was walking up with the conceal. Jotun reads it. Is able to escape. Onto gets baited in. The Tempest Blaze is going to be used up now. They're able to find VW, who jumps in with a battle mirror image, but now it's Jotun who gets caught. Meteoro taken down with the glowing wand from Mateus. Almost taken down as well. It's going to be another 2 for 1. All these trades, it just seems like Brazil, they're always able to come out on top in the team fights.
They want to win the team fights, but I'm even surprised at how fast VW got blown up there. I mean, he didn't last very long at all, and you know, part of the job is just to, he got literally blasted, and just, you want to be able to get that blazing dew off, obviously, but you're seeing how difficult it is to actually enter the area here of Argentina with the lineup that they have. Part of that too is you just don't want to be, you know, you don't want to get grabbed. You always have to be conscious of Curio or the Daytona's welcome even. Looking at the items too, Holy Crystal locked in there now for Jotun. He had the Genius Wand earlier. Looks like Holy Crystal is going to be the next one here for Meteoro as well. Already has the Divine Glaive and Glowing Wand. That's why the damage is just pretty insane right now. I mean, even the Thunder Belt on Arctic kind of helps out with that whole thing, and it makes it very difficult to fight in the vicinity, even of the implosion when Brazil gets a set up here. That's why they're pretty cautious on how they want to approach the team fights, because even at this point, you know, Civ is deadly. You know, this carry, the range might be short, it might be, you know, you really have to rely on maneuvering around, but the shred is insane, and that's why they've also just gone through the Lord so quickly. Next one's going to be up here in 10 seconds. You can already see it. Argentina knows they have that shred available to them, and they can actually start up this Lord and possibly take it, unless Brazil decides this time around they're going to do something about it. Looks like they're going to do just that here as they try to get here in time. This Lord's a little bit more beefier though. Kira
was not the Faraga armor almost instantaneously. Like you said, man, the Lord is way beefier, right? Even though it did get nerfed, the Summon Lord HP per minute has been, the HP growth per minute has been buffed by quite a significant amount. So, Lord number 2, or Lord number 3 in this game. Carrier goes over to I'm offended. Now we're dead to this welcome. Jotun still winning on the retreat battle there as VW jumps up with the blazing duet. Gets caught in the missiles. Now, the blades used up again. Dominators are set still in the midst of it all. Meteoro forced to flicker back again. That's a double kill for Chessmaker. Civ and Jotun trying to run away. Mateus, a good Terrify in. Chessmaker doesn't want to go for the assassination. And it is the same story again. It's a winning team fight for Brazil. But the neutral objective for Argentina. Chessmaker wants to go in. Great Wind of Nature. Not trying to outplay the situation. Enhanced chain not connecting. Chessmaker holding himself off from going in there. But even with the enhanced lord in the bottom lane, they're going to go for the push into mid lane. Base turret going to be targeted down. Good retribution with the enhanced side. Mateus taking a bit of punishment, but dishing out as much damage as he is taking as well. Civ, he's got to be very careful now as we enter the 17th minute.
Oh, man. This has been the story of game one. Brazil gives up these objectives. There's an I'm offended. Oh,
into the lead. Plays into it. Winner crown combo. VW dealing a lot of damage onto Arctic, Jotun, and Kerio, but no one's there to really capitalize. And with Mateus down, this could be finally the window for Argentina to look for another structure.
Yeah, as I was saying, you know, it's been the story of the game where Argentina has been so good at getting the objectives, locking in those turtles, those lords, and then Brazil just duking out and going for the fights. And even the last fight that they had around the lord, it was really well orchestrated the way that they played around it. Because again, part of it is playing around the Meteoro here. They have to be able to deal with that ultimate, the descent, and they have to deal with it pretty quickly and in a way where you don't put Chessmaker in a position where he's in danger, you know, and kind of playing to the part and then following up once those are utilized, once those cooldowns are up here. Brazil has to make a move, and at this point, once again, like I said, I think you can't continue to actually do that when it comes to the lords here, because you're already seeing it. Even though they won that team fight, they got three members down of Argentina. They couldn't even get to the base turret down in the mid lane. So they're going to find themselves once again in a position where they have to decide: do we actually contest this next lord? It's going to be the fourth lord of this game, nearing that 20-minute mark. And this is where, you know, to the point where even if you win that team fight and lord spawns up, you're still going to kind of have to have you know, multiple team effort to deal with it. Some of the ways pushing in, unless some way somehow Brazil gets an entire team wipe and is able to push it into the base and possibly end the game. Seal going to be used though, spotted out once again. So we're 10 seconds away from that lord spawning up here. Brazil making sure that they have all the buffs they need, you know, locked in here for Chessmaker. So Argentina, they'll go ahead and manage the waves that they need to. There's a big one pushing up top, but they'll go ahead and get in position. This lord here.
Massive slow push up top. Shukaku goes in for Arctic there still. Arctic able to survive for a bit. Kerio, great disengage. That's his welcome used up. Plays doing so much damage together with Akira. Just burning the dino down. Meteoro now caught on the Dominator's Ascent. That is used up by Mateus. Now it's Brazil who are on the Lord. And like you said, it's an evolved Lord. This is going to be completely different from the last three we saw. Judson walking up forward, trying to deal with Akira now. Using the Instant Sword. Civ taking a whole lot of punishment back and forth. Meteoro to the time to go for the Dominator's Ascent. Shukaku losing out on all of the HP bars that he has. Back to the immortality. Kerio still in the midst of it all. Going to be taken down. Judson finding Shukaku. Kerio losing immortality. A great fight from both these teams. Brazil somehow still able to go back and forth as well, though. But that was a 4v5 that Argentina just came out on top in.
Yeah, 4v5 because, you know why? The little Johnnies. They're so strong, man. The fact that you can actually just place them there to be a nuisance enough. And then even popping the Dominator's Descent, being able to do that is enough of a threat to keep Brazil from hesitating. It's been the story of the entire game as well. So now Lord possibly going here in the hands of Argentina. It's less than half health.
The enhanced side too. Chessmaker goes in. Meteoro steals it away. Now the Blazing Duet Civ still able to dish out damage. Chessmaker finds the blades to go for the kill. Johnson, one last slash should do it, but Chessmaker still able to finish poise out. Once again, it's similar circumstances. Jotun, can he escape? He has the immortality. Akira's going for the chase, but Taya's chasing as well. Jotun waiting for a few of these skills to be up. Goes for the enhanced sword, but now going to be caught in the I'm offended and the last insanity. Jotun buys the rose gold in time, now goes for the sword, but will not be able to survive. Akira taking him down with the flames as Chessmaker picks up a mid lane turret. Kerio all alone left to defend, just a sole roamer. Now Tempest of Blades into the shove and the implosion too. Brazil, they don't need the neutral objectives. They don't need the Lord to end the game. They'll just fight to win.
And that they will. They'll get the win here in game number one of this best of three against Argentina. Probably the closest game we've seen so far today. A back and forth between objective taking and team fighting prowess here. This time around, it's Brazil against game number 1. Whew. That was honestly, at that point, it was hard to say who was going to be able to take that game number 1, because both teams were able to find their own kind of wins, in terms of objective taking, in terms of team fighting. And we're going to take a look at the highlights here in just a second, because there's a lot of highlights, of course, that we can talk about for this game 1 alone. And I think even when you look at it, again, it was just, you have a Ling on your side here for Chessmaker. He was building up momentum, and then right away Argentina responded, and I feel like they dealt with things the way that they needed to, but again, a great game 1 here on this series so far. As we jump in, so we're 5 minutes in from this point, and this is the thing, is like you're noticing, right? The Meteoro was the crucial part for them that they had to deal with. Brazil, I felt like every single time they approached a fight, they had to deal with Meteoro. They had to get rid of that descent. They had to get rid of even the little Johnnies weren't enough. The little aliens there that Zas drops down is enough to cause some hesitation on how you want to approach the fight, because at any point you could go ahead and pot that Dominator's descent. And with this too, I've got to say, Arctic, he died a lot in this game, but he did his job, at really trying to turn some of these fights around here. But Brazil, their team fighting, the way that they were able to lock down some targets, the way that they were able to kind of adjust even on the fly to some of the situations. Because remember, VW got blown up a couple times, so his timing on utilizing even the Blazing Duet had to be adjusted, like here, right? The way that he used this, they go in, they follow up. Multiple times Brazil found these team fights where they got 2-3 members down of Argentina. But yeah, they were watching the objectives just kind of getting taken in front of them. And that was probably just the call. Maybe the call was just, what, guys, forget the objective. Let's just win these team fights and then slowly kind of chip in towards their base here. Once again, great usage of the Tempest Blades, a lot of times from Chessmaker, to stay alive and buy those extra couple seconds. And even down to this last Lord, very slow approach to it, and again, you'll see just how much of a threat things were, that even at early Tempest Blades to stay alive, they end up going for this fight, breaking it out. They get pushed back. Argentina has a great fight, but then ultimately, even after the Lord is secured and everything else, look at the fight. The way that Chessmaker moves around the map, gets out of there time and time again with just a little bit of health, is what helped Brazil here. And I think that's part of it. Again, why teams love the Ling pick. Once it's open, you can make plays like that, and help your team just get to victory. As we take a look at the scoreboard here on how this fell into place. 21 minutes, 46 seconds, this game number 1, and especially once again, I don't know, who would you give MVP here in this game for Brazil? Because I feel like everybody did such a good job in winning this first game.
Yeah, I think really everybody kind of deserves MVP, but if I had to choose a standout, it would probably still be Chessmaker, because all the way from the early game, I mean, he got the first 2 kills to start, the crazy pace of the game, and all the way towards the later stage of the game as well. Usually we see some Lings do really well early, but then fall off in the later stage, For Chessmaker, that was never the case. He was always going to be relevant in the team fights, and he was able to pop off mechanically in every single team fight. Great blade pickups and great timing on the Tempest of Blades as well. I think there was one moment around his own purple buff where he baited Arctic in to go for the Detonator's Welcome, and he outplayed it with a Tempest of Blades, baiting out a big resource, forcing them in. But hey, we gotta shout the guy out who was on a tank, a frontliner, who didn't die a single time. Akira Nakai on the X-Borg was definitely, I would say, out of all of them, the unsung hero. He wasn't too flashy. We didn't really see much of him in the game. We didn't see it, but if you take a look at the damage, he's kind of that shadow carry, right? On the X-Borg. He knows when to go in. He knows when to deal damage. And this is just an X-Borg thing. You never really notice the X-Borg damage until you blow up with the last Insanity.
He's a low-key hero, at this point. Like, yeah, because, that's the thing. And I know when they locked it in the last pick, I was like, that's a solid pick to round out this kind of AoE lineup they have. And I guess that's why also that Chessmaker was able to utilize the Ling the way they wanted it to. So great game number one here that we had in this best of three. We'll see if, of course, for Argentina, if they can adjust from it going into game two. But we are going to be taking a short break here, about 5 minutes or so. So sit tight. We'll be back after the short break for this next game. And welcome back after the short break here to the American Regional Qualifiers. We are in the midst of the last match here for the day, at least here on stream. Again, I'm Naisu, joined here with Mirko, and we just saw, I would say, the closest, once again, so far, game that we've seen between the teams, opening up today, and between, of course, Argentina and Brazil here. I don't know. What do we think? What adjustments need to be made, especially from Argentina, to get to our first game three?
I would honestly say it has to do with just execution, right? Because the way that they drafted was actually really good already. I really like the Zask pick. I really like the Julian pick into the Ling as well. For the draft, it was really just back and forth for both of them. It was very 50-50,
yeah.
But it came down to a lot of the executions. I think in a lot of the skirmishes as well. Maybe the only pick that I didn't like for the side of Argentina has got to be the carry, right? Because carry usually she thrives in compositions where you play front to back, but composition was really not built to go front to back. That composition was really built to go for just fights overall and chaotic fights at that. So I think the Moskov could have been a better choice if they want to change something in that draft. But again, it really just comes down to the execution, right? How they actually wanted to tackle a lot of the team fights as well. It just felt really, really messy. A bit too messy even though that composition is built for the messy team fights, it wasn't optimal for them. And for the other side, it was perfect for them. They were always able to find the combos, and the chaos kind of created openings for Shikaku to go for the implosion on towards, for the most part, on towards Jotun, which is the prime target when we're talking about a lot of the fights here. And also for the Ling to just go on to the carry 1v1, assassin versus marksman.
Shikaku, I think, was obviously a pivotal part in a lot of those team fights that they won, because again, I think the way that you really look at it is that was the case. It's like Argentina it's like when you think about fundamentals, like they had the objective fundamentals down, and maybe this was a team that spent a lot of time practicing that back in utility days, utility jungler days, and they had the timings down and everything. But it's like, if you're up against a team that, like Brazil, that just wants to fight, then you might as well go ahead and solidify that game plan down. And as you see, the first ban's already out here. The Ling is not going to be part of this. Neither is the Zask, of course. And so still on the table are a lot of these picks that we see quite often available in the current meta. You still have the IESF, you still have the Rogers. You still have a lot of room to maneuver. You can even bring the Trizla. Not sure if they want to pick it up. Chip was still open. Louis Yi is still there. I'm not sure if Argentina wants to go this route. But hey, we saw the chip picked up earlier, and it didn't work out too well. But of course, in the hands of Brazil, I'm kind of expecting a little bit different performance here with the chip.
Oh, I completely forgot about the chip here, Naisu. I really did. Usually we always see it banned out, so there's no real reason for us to even think that the chip is a hero in MLBB, right? Because it's always, I think I've spoken to a lot of teams as well talking about the chip, why it's always so prio, and for the most part, I always get responses as like, yeah, if the chip is open, might as well just surrender. That's what they tell me.
It's that bad?
Did not get a win earlier today. I think it was the second match of the day that we saw the chip as well, and it was actually countered by the Minotaur. So glad that Brazil actually already have a way to counter or to get rid of a counter towards the chip, something like a Minotaur. And also going to be Trizla and the Julian. For the side of Argentina, the Roger that this time has been left open. With the Ling banned out by Argentina, they will pick it up themselves. Again, for Brazil, it really has to come down to looking for early game skirmish power, right? With the chip, you want to try to capitalize on that with even more skirmish power. So at this point, I think it's a good, I don't know. I was actually thinking about something like a Faramis, but Valentina hasn't been banned yet, and Argentina could pick it up themselves. I don't think they go Faramis here. I think they need to go for the Valen first, in case Argentina try to counter the chip with the Faramis. And now they have a lot of big ultimates they can play with technically. and also kind of forces Argentina to go for the other heroes that don't have big ultimates. So again, Valentina always in the meta because of that ultimate.
Yeah, I don't think that's just that's like one hero that's just not going to change unless they changed her kit as a whole. It's just such a big play. I mean, even in the draft, because as soon as Valentina's locked in, like you got to be conscious for the opposing team on what to pick up and what they might be giving up. I mean, already alone, penalty zone's great, to give up to a Valentina to use, and Brazil can go ahead and punish that. So that's almost Moskov locked in. Surprisingly enough, too, we haven't seen him pop up too much just today alone. But so far here, they go ahead and lock Moskov in for that gold lane. And even so, looking at Argentina's lineup and the fact that they got Julian again, we already saw how much burst damage can be there. It can work out great. I'm just still wondering what will be that mid lane pickup. I'm expecting some more mid lane options to be taken out of the equation here. And at the same time, I just don't know, because of the fact that we don't have that information just yet. What if, depending on how this second phase goes, we happen to see, for example, Julian go to the mid lane. Like that's happened in, recent tournaments as well. And so that's something that always has to be considered as Brazil goes through this next phase of the bans here. So they are going to take out Carmilia. We also saw the export being banned out. MVP performance hero right there from the previous game. So good ban there. We'll see what these last ones are going to be. But in terms of mid lane option for Argentina, since they need this win here to get to game 3, what do we think would work well with this? Like, would something like a Vexana be the play, or do you just actually pick up the Faramis to deal with the chip and just be like, all right, we'll deal with it. They're gonna have another realm as well. Is that worth the risk?
I really don't think it's worth the risk, knowing how Argentina's composition really want to go for the combo as well. Because the combo for Argentina is going to be very reliant on their cycle of skills. So if the Terizla uses a penalty zone and Julian uses the one full cycle of his skills, and it's all countered by another realm, they're gonna have to wait for another window, and that's very, very tough, I would say, especially in the early game if you want to try to snowball up against the composition that Brazil have already. So I'm not a big fan of the Faramis. I think the Vexana would be a better choice. You have a way as well to catch a lot of different people from Brazil if they actually go for the shortcut, right? You try to counter it with just more CC, layer it together with the Terizla as well. Bad part is you're going to give the Eternal Guard technically over to the Valentina too, but I think it's a pretty good, trade to give over for your safety. Good peel. You go for the Ruby first, which is a good pick up against the chip as well. But again, now for Brazil, I feel like the Arlet will definitely be a choice that they will be thinking about here, knowing that it can just go over with a lot of the skirmishing power that it has with the chip. Great combination there. I'm thinking of at this point, where does the Roger go, right? Or
that's what I was wondering,
trying to go for a
jungle
jungler,
Roger
or is the Roger going to go to the jungle? Because if the Roger goes jungle, it actually does put them in a weird spot. There's no Moskov. Maybe they can go Claude still, but it is definitely a weak side matchup up against that Moskov. So we'll see. I think Roger Gold is definitely the safer option. Oh, Harith! Completely forgot about the Harith. Flew over my mind, and that's a great Thamus pick, by the way. Brazil's got an amazing composition.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay that it slipped your mind, man. I know at this point too, we just gotta see how they utilize this, because the Thamus we saw this banned out previously, not in this series, but previously today, and it does serve its purpose. I mean, Thamus alone is he's a great front line, and it actually allows Chip not to be that guy the whole time, and use that shortcut a little bit better here. Xavier is going to be the last pickup, though, for Argentina, which is what I was wondering. What would be that complement to the Julian pick? So now that we know where everything's kind of going here, Xavier's still great. I feel like he's one of those heroes that only certain teams play, though. You know what I mean? Like it's only certain teams, like also from certain regions, that like to pick up the Xavier. Still, obviously, great utility that comes with this lineup, that comes with the Xavier, the Dawning Light itself. Very low cooldown, a lot of damage potential. could pair up well with whatever build that we see this Julian this time around go with. But looking at the lineups here, you know, I like Brazil's lineup. I think it covers all the bases from early to end. Argentina needs a little bit more time, obviously, to build up. They're going to be relying on Jotun once again with this damage from the Julian early on, because, you know, obviously Mozkov needs some times. I think for Brazil, it's really just avoiding the globals like Dawning Light and the Spear of Destruction, like playing around that, and maybe that's where you utilize the shortcut. And at the same time, I just think, you know, for having a Valentina, it's like, do we take the penalty zone? Do we take the I'm offended, right? So those are our thoughts for the drafts here and the lineups, but let's jump into the game at number 2. As we head into this, again, it's a best of 3 here for Brazil and Argentina. This is the road to Riyadh. And with these lineups, you know, Brazil, after having that first game, Argentina didn't make it easy for them. So as we look at this, the lineup that they have, Warcry Emblem on the Thamus too. Already a lot of early action for this Lithuander. Going to be secured though by Argentina.
Whoa.
Arctic here too.
Akira's here too. Everybody's here in the mid lane. It does seem like we're gonna have a little bit of that brawl in the mid lane. Damage though, placed down by Meteoro. Yeah, I was about to ask you, Naisu. I don't know if you've been playing ranked games, but have you been seeing Xaviers pop up? Like a lot of Xaviers, an unhealthy amount of Xaviers, because that's what I've been experiencing in my own ranked games, where Xaviers have just been popping up so much early on. Meteoro to be forced to flicker out. But yeah, especially considering Brazil don't really have a way to dive, really, when it comes to like mid-game, right? They're really going to have to play this front to back. Xavier just adds so much value into the composition for a front to back for Argentina here. So for Brazil, they really need to rely on a snowball at this point of the game if they want to get rid of the Xavier.
You know, to answer your question about the Xavier, like I've seen it pop up here and there, but I wouldn't say like constantly, and maybe that's partly due because I also play him. I think he's like my 3rd most played mage at this point, and that's partly due to I have the same skin. You know, like as soon as I got that skin, it was just like an automatic pickup, even before where he is in the meta right now. But yeah, it's just the amount of utility I think that you offer. I mean, once you also get that, you know, just the low cooldowns, not just on the Dawning Light, but being able to lock up multiple members. Oh, hold on.
Vengeance used up. Dawning Light from the back as well. Able to find it now. Retribution still on point for Chessmaker. Shortcut gets placed down. Meteoro using a poke. Slowly but surely. This time it's completely different. It's the opposite of what happened in game number 1, where Brazil were always the ones winning out of the fights and Argentina were the ones getting the neutral objective. It's the opposite. Jotun stealing away the purple buff as well. So it's a bit better, I would say, for Argentina than it is for Brazil this time.
Yeah, the lineup that they're going to use here allows them to pretty much do this. Every time we're going to see an objective fight, that's kind of how it's going to be orchestrated, right? You have a penalty zone for a reason. That's why Trizla is so great, and you can do that, or you can use Curio, like we saw in the previous game, where a lot of times, you know, you're utilizing the I'm offended, or you're trying to even peel in this case. But then you add to that layer what I was talking about, the Xavier, you're able to just lock people down with the fields, right? The Mystic Fields, especially when it's the enhanced version of it, you get that bigger radius, which helps with this. So even if Brazil tries to initiate with the lineup that they have, if timed correctly, you know, Meteoro alone can stop them in their tracks. And I think that's why, once again, when we talk about utility, so valuable here with the lineup that Argentina has and the way they play around that. And part of this idea is too just getting that scaling in your favor. You know, Enchanted Talisman already picked up here for Meteoro is going to help out even further, just going and spamming those abilities, getting that, not worrying too much about the mana regeneration at this point, and always looking to get that as much cooldown reduction as you can early on here, because that's what they're working for. So you can see them already getting in position, getting prepped up for this next turtle take. And we'll see if that's still the case, right? If it's still going to be the case where Brazil gets the objective, but then Argentina wins the team fight. Now, part of this too is, how does this play a part for Chessmaker? I feel like this time around too with the Roger, it's a little bit more difficult, you know, obviously than having the Ling, where you have to go and find your right angles or initiation points. It might not happen here.
Shortcut. There you go. VW coming in. Jotun still winning on the retry battle this time around. Cario able to flicker out to safety. And with all those rotations, they aren't able to get the lead here. It's still 1,000 goal lead for Argentina. Penalty zone. Arctic's all alone. Goes on to Akira Nakai, dealing a good chunk of damage. Dawning Light coming down too. And this is an early game Xavier. That will only build up. That will only become stronger as the game gets to the later stage. And I don't know, man. I just want to get my personal opinion out here. I really hope, you know, they prove me wrong. But I don't like the Harith going for a flicker here in this game. There's so much CC they can stop him. Like when he's using his Amon Force, even when he's going for the resets on the dash. I'm really not a fan of the flicker here. I definitely think the Purify would have definitely helped him a bit more, but we'll see. Maybe they need the flicker to actually jump in towards Meteoro. Maybe that's the idea. There you go. Flicker. There you go. He gets it out. If it wasn't for the flicker, he would definitely die there. I think the Purify could have gotten them out as well, but it would have been a little bit more difficult, you know, to get out. But there you go. Flicker burnt out right as I say it.
Ask and you shall receive. You know, that's pretty much what that was. They're going to lose the tower, though. And so for Argentina, I mean, think about all that they've accomplished just in the last couple of minutes. It's gotten themselves a nice lead, you know, 2,000 gold at this point that they can work around with. And it looks like Brazil is just kind of playing slower. They have to, because just the pace that's been set by Argentina, they really can't seem to go to toe and fight with them. So for Brazil, it seems like they're just going to take the notion of, all right, let's just go ahead and farm up as much as we can. Hopefully rely on VW to farm up on this Harith, you know, get those couple items that we need, and then start contesting. We've seen teams do this before where, you know, essentially they give up all 3 turtles, and by the Lord, they're ready to fight, and they can actually win those fights. So this next turtle's up. I think Argentina is just able to take it. You can see, though, the travel up there from Shikaku. So he spots them out.
Oh, dude, just look at that. Mystic Field perfectly placed down to stop any sort of engage now. Penalty zone coming down. Akira still in the midst of it. Oh, Mateus stealing away the penalty zone. Chicago going to go for a crash course. Jotun stunned up, still able to get out with the enhanced sword. Dawning Light coming down. Chessmaker still with the retry, securing it for the team. A lot of members low. Mystic Field finding Chessmaker again, but he is able to escape with a Lycan form. Knock up onto VW. No more further engages, it seems. Mateus going to be caught in the Mystic Field again. That's just how annoying the Mystic Field is, and he can constantly just be spamming this. Another Mystic Field coming down as Shikaku goes in for the crash course, but it's not going to be enough to take anyone down. Argentina respond with the structure, and it's a mid-tier 1.
Very good decision from Argentina to get something out of that, right? Like, I mean, it was good from Shikaku to set things up with the shortcut, but like you mentioned, you know, right on time the Mystic Field and Dawning Light. But then the turtle secures by Brazil, and for Argentina, they get a turret out of it. So even though they lost that turtle, it doesn't really matter to them. They still hold on to essentially the same lead. They still build up from that. You can see the Holy Crystal being worked on here by Jotun, already working on that extra bit of burst damage. And meanwhile, you know, Civ has been able to farm up. Uh-oh, Arctic.
Penalty zone defensively. That this time around they're able to use the crash course, but you can see it's a bit of trouble still, right? They're chunked pretty low, despite the fact that they got the frontliner. It's just the frontliner, and then there's another trade on the board, so they're not even getting like full victories here, and they're actually gonna lose a turret down below too. So it's a win for Argentina now. The rotation proactive for Brazil, but Argentina's winning it out, and another Dawning Light comes down. And again, now you can see that it's already dealing even more damage, and it'll scale up again.
This is what I was saying, you know, that spike, especially in the late game, having this Xavier pick, having even the Moskov essentially been able to do the same thing, farm up as much as possible, and then just appear with that Spear of Destruction. Something that's always tough. Like, in a way, both teams have this kind of like global presence, whether that's the shortcut or, you know, the 2 ultimates here for Argentina. So they're going to go ahead and start up this Lord here. Already at half health. They're actually just going to give it a go. There's Conceal, though.
Shikaku, caught by the Mystic Field, pops in the shortcut. Now they all come in towards the shortcut. Penalty zone by Mateus. Akira able to steal away the Lord, but now the penalty zone locks 4 members down. Arctic finds a massive one, but Brazil are still able to back away. Still, though, I don't know if you want to call that a win. Because now with the Lord, can they even use it? Argentina's composition is great at clearing waves. And I think the Lord advantage might just be an advantage that Argentina can use to farm up even more.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to get much at all. And it's kind of dire because they don't have even a single tier 1 turret down. As you can see here, Jotun's just going to go and work through this easily. Oh, Shikaku. He's like, hey, they're too late to that. But here comes the rest.
Shikaku gonna be isolated all alone here. Try to go for the flank. We'll be able to escape though. It's good maneuvers from Brazil. It was very, very messy, but up top it's Akira trying to go for a trade. The fact that Brazil have the snowballing comp and Argentina are the ones who are winning instructors says a lot. Argentina are completely fine being down 3,000 gold. I would say they're already fine. But the fact that they are the ones leading by 2,000 is a big problem for Brazil. It's a big problem. This Argentina composition is not built to win in the early game. They have a Moskov and they have a Xavier. This is a mid to late game composition, and they're about to get to the mid game with a lead.
Okay. It's crazy too. I just realized it's 1-1, right? It's at this point it's been pretty stalemate. Hold on here, Jotun. All right, he's fine. He gets out. Good. He's all right. He's okay. They might re-engage this, but ultimately what it's going to lead to is just both teams being pretty much even in terms of economy, and it's up to Brazil to even out the space to work with. That needs to be turrets. So who do you send for that? You know, that's the thing, is like, who do you actually deal with that? And do you play around the fact that you have a shortcut that, you know, if you are going to send someone to the side lane to split push or anything like that, you know, first off is who is it going to be? And then how do you play into the fact that you have shortcut, you show up to these next fights, the objectives, because, you know, it just seems like right now Brazil has no options to really push any of these turrets in, especially in the mid lane. They really need to focus on the mid lane tier 1 turret here of Argentina, because every minute that pretty much goes by, the Xavier Meteoro just gets stronger and stronger here. Yeah, looking at the scaling too, and already VW very close to the Holy Crystal, should be picking it up relatively closely. You can see, right, they are going to lose the buffs, but they trade it for this tier 1 in the bottom lane. But Argentina just trying to hold it down at that mid for now. As they put more pressure here, they might force them to respond to this tier 2 being taken, but it looks like it's just going to be a trade. A tier 2 turret, possibly for this Lord, unless...
That's a big wave.
Unless they go in. Yeah, it is a huge
wave. They're going to get a base turret. They're going to force the recalls to happen. Dawning Light comes down as well, but it's going to be a bit too late. Brazil make an amazing macro move on the map. Testmaker. It's a good Spirit Misery to stun him up, but they get the shortcut, and now they go into the Lord. They can go for it. Now it's going to be Cario is going to be left alone. Well played. Jotun takes it down. That's a penalty zone. Locking Chessmaker down as Brazil take the Lord right now, but Arctic is able to get Shikaku style as well. Mateus needs to run away, goes in for Sim, but it's Jotun again who comes out and takes the double. Dawning Light dodged away from... Oh, man. What a play by Brazil. No, actually, it's Argentina who still get the Lord. I thought Brazil got the Lord, so it ends up still being a massive win to Argentina. But good news for Brazil is they have the base turret down below, so they can actually, they have super minions in the bottom lane, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, they hold on to this top one. I don't think they're going to hold on for it longer. This one's going to charge in. Oh, but hold on. They try to defend it the best they can. Now they got to deal with the Lord here. They're waiting for Mateus to come up as well. Can they stay in the game?
Mystic Field came down earlier. Style. Oh, Meteoro with a snipe from downtown. Now with the I'm Offended, Akira. The limits of it all, trying to go for the damage now. Good, I'm Offended stealing away. Mateus finding the massive one. Chessmaker going in with the Lycan Pounce, finding the double kill, but Meteoro with Jotun will get rid of him. Again, the Dawning Light, this time point blank range. Argentina 1-1 equalizing the board and giving us our first full 3-game series.
Hey man, we said it. We said it at the beginning, before game number 1, this could be the one between these two great teams here. These countries going at it to take it to a game 3. And game 1, you know, we saw exactly what happened and how that kind of was the story of objectives versus team fighting. Well, even this one for game number 2, this was the same story, just kind of flip-flopped around, Argentina able to secure. Yeah, honestly, if they were not able to pull that off, because that was a really good decision. We're going to look at the highlights here, of course, for this game, but it was such a good decision from Brazil to put the pressure on those turrets on the bottom side, push into the base, force a recall, a response, and then shortcut to the Lord. If they would have happened to get that Lord, they possibly could have ended the game in a sweep, the series in a sweep. But good thing for Argentina, Jotun gets that Lord at the end, right, and is able to pretty much secure themselves the win here. Because again and again, this is just so much utility from Argentina thrown at Brazil. A lot of those mystic fields, the penalty zones, the I'm-offenders, whichever it was able to give them the upper hand. And a lot of these team fights, a lot of these exchanges, and even down to the fact that, I guess that's one of the big weak points of Chip is like once you utilize the shortcut, the crash course is down, and even the purify, like you saw in cooldown, then what you do? There's not much more you can do at that point. And, we talked about this. This is only the 14-minute mark, and Meteoro, the Dawning Light, was threat enough. And even with his last hope from Chessmaker, he's trying to clean this up, even picks up a Sky Piercer there. It's just not enough, right? It's already in Argentina's favor. We're going to take a look at the scoreboard here, of course, and how this breaks down. A 14-minute game, quicker than the first one. Argentina really knew the game plan here. They knew the power spikes that they had in their favor, and they were able to really shine from it. Once again, looking at this Meteoro on this Xavier pick, tons of damage available to him, was really able to just be kind of a nuisance to Brazil here.
Still in this game, right? I mean, Argentina, I did mention that, if they want to change anything, the Moskov would have been a great addition to the team. But
Yeah,
I think it's not actually the Moskov in this game that really changed stuff, but it was the last pick, Xavier, for sure. Meteoro really popping off on the Xavier pick. And really, I think this pick was just amazing for Argentina. We got to give massive props to them. Noticing that Brazil literally do not have anyone that can actually reliably dive to the back, it was just a perfect condition for Xavier. All of them also very short ranged. Harith and Roger are the two, range heroes. Oh, you can call Valentino range heroes hero too, and all three of them are basically melee, right? It's so short their range, and they can all get punished very, very hard by the Xavier. We will give our player of the match, it seems, to Jotun, who's had a solid performance. I think even in game number 1, he had an amazing performance, still securing a lot of the neutral objectives for the team. And this game, again, a few of these moments, getting the Lord, getting a turtle steal, it really kept them in the game, despite them having a Moskov, a Xavier, who's nowhere near their power spike in the early phase. He was able to keep it very, very stable for the team, for those two members to scale up. And again, we were talking about how it's going to be ridiculous if the Moskov and the Xavier get to the mid game, which is their power spike, with a lead.
Yeah.
That's what Jotun, together with, I would say the whole team, really, even the roamer that they had in XP as well, they all enabled that to happen.
Yeah, it was definitely a team effort from Argentina to make things work here for game number 2, and they did it on a fly. It was a really good adjustment from game 1 to game 2. Now, of course, we are going to be waiting for game 3 to start, but we are going to be taking a short break, about 5-6 minutes here, to sit tight, let the players adjust, and get ready for game number 3. So again, I'm Nice2, that's Mirko. We'll be back after the short break. And welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen. It is the American IESF qualifiers, the road to the WEC. And for the last time, at least for today, it's me, Nice2, joined with Mirko. We're in deep for the last series of the day. It's finally a best of 3 going 3 games, man. It's between Argentina and Brazil. We've seen 2 great games so far, actually, from both teams really shining. Game number 1 was Brazil. Game number 2, Argentina here. So game 3, I don't know, man. What are we thinking? How does either of these teams, based on what we've seen so far, how do they cap out this series? Because so far they've showed strength in actually all aspects of the game, I'd say.
Yeah, I think, again, though, Nice, right? I have to go back to the statement that I made after game number 1. I think it'll really just come down to the execution, because even though in game number 2, that Xavier pick kind of really, gave them a bit of trouble. It gave them a lot of trouble, actually. It's kind of an outdraft moment. I think there were a lot of ways to still win with the chip pick, right? You can still go for a lot of the skirmishes, maybe still brawl out of the mid lane. Maybe that's a good idea early on to try to win out on the side lanes as well, because it's a Harith against a Moskov. That's a winning matchup. And in the bottom lane as well, it's a Hamas up against a Terizla. There were many ways for them to actually, win out on their own individual lanes and out-execute the Xavier, putting Xavier in a tough spot, definitely. But unfortunately, that did not happen. I think the main problem has got to be still the execution, because Argentina just plain out executed their game plan better in game number 2. And in game number 1, it was Brazil doing the same thing. I think it all just comes down to now going for their comfort picks, right? Because it's very clear to see that even though both of them had amazing drafts in game 1, game 2, it's clear to see what they find comfort in, right? And I think for Argentina, it's front-to-back compositions. And I think for the side of Brazil, it's mainly just chaotic compositions that do not want to front-to-back. So they played in the opposite styles in the last one, technically, or opposite styles in their losses. And now both of them technically already know what they need to go for. It's delaying still for Argentina, obviously going to be banned out. And I think this is setting up for a Julian first pick for Argentina. If, Zask isn't left open, I think Brazil definitely need to get rid of it. They still go for red side this time around, by the way. Both games we've seen red side victories. Brazil won on red side game number 1. Argentina won on red side game number 2. So it's been very different from what we have come accustomed to, right? Gotten accustomed to, with blue side always having a massive advantage. Yeah,
usually blue side. I mean, I forgot, but I don't even remember if it was like a 60-40 before. The blue side was usually winning 60-40-ish. Interesting to note, that it's been 2 red side wins here. And so I think that's also to say with, like, depending on what's available here, Argentina, okay, they go with the Tigro ban. So I think this is the case of, if the Julian is going to be open, Argentina will first pick that up. Zask could possibly still be open as well. Maybe Brazil wants to go that route. But either way, there's, so far from what we've seen, I think even when it comes down to the hero choices, it is just kind of like that play style, like you mentioned, where what they would rather play on. But so far from both teams, I mean, they've shown us that they can actually play for the objective, play for the team fighting if they want to. Brazil just tends to, I mean, this is that region as a whole anyway. Like, they just like to be a little scrappy. They like to team fight. They like to go ahead and duke it out here. Good ban, good last ban from Brazil for the first phase. They take out the Julian. Zask is still open. There it is. Argentina is going to go ahead and grab it. The response, of course, from Brazil, Roger is still there if they want to go that route. Roger Terizla, Roger, I don't know, Edith, if actually Brazil wants to go this route this time around. Or possibly even, Harith still being open too. There's a lot of choices here for Brazil to go ahead and pick up.
Look at how they played the Harith in game number 2. I'm not a big fan of how VW plays the Harith. Maybe because he's more of a weak side player, right? Because the Harith it is a completely different style to what a lot of different marksmen have been playing. So I think for VW, to get to his comfort, which is probably going to be the marksman, especially, the Claudes, like in game number 1, where he had a phenomenal performance, would be the better idea. But the Minotaur, for the first time in the series, will finally be left open. And hey, surprise, surprise, Argentina actually pick it up together with already a Zask pick. So Brazil's already going to be in a very tough spot if they want to dive. And then that's a Moskov too. Moskov, Zask, and Minotaur. As long as the Moskov plays around the Zask, it's going to be almost impossible to dive in. Because if you dive in, you're going to get double stun, and then the Spear of Misery is going to catch you. And then all while you're going to be in the air. Because the Minotaur man will be banging his hammer to the ground.
That's a good way to put it, right? In that fury. And for the most part, too, I'm still thinking for Brazil, playing against that. The fact, too, that we don't know 100% where the Roger's going just yet, but just assume it is going to be in the gold lane. Unless Chessmaker wants to pick this up against his lineup. I feel like Roger in the jungle, though, is going to be hard enough to focus, especially on the objectives. So they go the Edith. I was actually wondering, too, if Edith would get snagged here from Argentina before the Moskov was locked in, but they go with the marksman pick anyway. So for Brazil, they've got a lot of utility already. You know, a lot of crowd control available to them. This is why the Edith is so in demand, because of the fact that with the onward Earth Shatter combination is so just, you know, it's easy to pull off. You get the knockups there, and then it complements the penalty zone, and vice versa really well. Knowing that they have to play into a Minoan's Fury, you know, setup combination is going to help them out. And even dealing with the Dominator's Ascent, you know, dealing with that, this could be a good component for them to go ahead and utilize. They take out the Alpha because we still have to talk about and consider what is the jungle option for Argentina so far, especially because it's been back-to-back, right, that we've seen Jotun play the Julian.
Yep.
So we haven't been able to see him play anything else just yet. Wondering what else is in his hero pool to bring to the jungle here. Either way, though, with what they already have, you know, I'm not sure if you go and not full utility, but it's like, could you possibly go even like a Martis? I think Alpha was a good ban because it's like, you know, you don't want to go full utility. Wow, they actually banned the Baksha out here. So unless Jotun has something else up his sleeve, you know, you obviously don't want to go too risky and like pick up an assassin. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that'd be a little bit too expensive if they go that route. So really curious what Jotun still has in his repertoire of heroes here for the jungle.
I think we have seen Hayabusa actually get banned out, so I'm curious if Brazil are actually banning out all these, you know, different utility junglers because they want to go for the Hayabusa, and they're already limiting picks that do pretty well maybe up against the Hayabusa, right? So Brazil have first pick here in the second phase. I think Hayabusa will be an amazing option to go for. They can also go for obviously just a mage here with the Valentino already banned away. The Fairmiss has been left up for grabs for them to take. It's going to be pretty solid. It's a solid answer up against the Zask. It does, you do get punished a bit though by the Minotaur and the Moscow, but the fact that you already have a lot of other sustain there, oh, they're going to go for the Aurora instead. So instead of more HP, they're going to go for more lockdown. And the Hayabusa that, you know, I mentioned earlier will be the hero that Jotun get to pick up. So all the jungle bans have technically backfired now in Brazil. I think with the Aurora pick, they are saying that Roger is going to be their jungler, right? And they're going to have to pick up a marksman now, or maybe even the Harith in the gold lane. For Argentina, though, it just comes down to their XP lane, and up against this composition, I think the X-Borg fits really, really well, right? You get a lot of damage for prolonged team fights against the Edith, against the Terizla. You're solid against the Roger, too. But hey, Thamus is also a solid answer to go for. You have that Vengeance, you have the Sustain up against this composition, and already have the healing together with the Motivation Roar here. So, yeah, good stuff. I'm just wondering if Brazil now will pick up a Harith or a Mark, or maybe they go for. I'm not a fan of Nolan.
Oh wait, were you saying X? You were saying X-Borg for Argentina? Yeah.
Yeah.
Earlier, gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we got Brazil already's got the Trizla locked in. Yeah. So last pick. I don't know, man. I think part of this too is just like
upon the edge of the
Nolan. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that pick.
That's risky, but I guess they just want to go assassin for assassin. But Hayabusa has a way easier time to kind of decide on his entry points. Nolan, on the other hand, you kind of really have to be patient, especially later in the game. And so far, what we've seen is both these teams can bring it to that, you know, that late game potential. Interesting how they go about this, especially with the Nolan. I wasn't expecting the Nolan at all to pop up from Brazil. So now that that's in play, it's kind of like, all right, I think I favor Argentina's lineup here, based off that like everything was good for Brazil. The Nolan pick wasn't feeling too great about. Maybe Chessmaker will prove us wrong here, and maybe it's just also a comfort pick, but I still think that it's a little bit difficult to make it work because of the fact that you also have a Minotaur there, and even if you try to focus on the Zask and try to get rid of him, you know, you always have to technically go through another layer, you know, so to speak. And honestly, there's no one really else that's easy to kind of catch, so to speak, over on the other side. So again, it's up to Chessmaker. We'll see how he plays this out and makes it work. But I think even at the same time, the Aurora pick is not something that you see pop up too much. It is sort of niche for some teams that make it work in certain compositions. But obviously, the freeze, the frigid glacier also is going to be quite useful here. But we're going to jump into it. So those are the thoughts about the drafts here, ladies and gentlemen. It's down to this last game, the best of 3 between Argentina and Brazil. Finally, a third game for today in the 4 matches we've watched. And so far between these two teams as they duke it out, again, only one team from America's Group B is going to go forward to the WEC. And this is the first match that we get to see from Group B, I believe, today. We'll see some more tomorrow unfold, but this has been a great series so far.
Yeah, it really has, right? And I love the fact that we have developments after every single game. Game number 1, game number 2, we were talking about how both of these teams, they technically have found their identity. And in this game, they're embracing their identity. For Brazil, they really want to go up with that chaotic composition that got them the victory in game number 1. And for Argentina, it's all about the front to back, playing with the Zosk, playing with the Moskov as well, but also having a bit of dive there, having a little bit more of the assassin presence too with the Hayabusa. Both of them really now just relying on their own identities to play it out. Does seem like the Argentina have a little bit better control. Cario in the mid lane forced to use the flicker as they go in aggressively, punishing the maneuvers into the bottom lane for the rest of the team.
Okay, so already a lot of rotations obviously happening here, trying to spot things out.
Again,
wow.
Even without the flicker, still walking forward, getting caught by the ultimate there, the frigid glacier. Together with the onward now, and it does definitely give Brazil a better time to go for the neutral objective. Meteoro, does he still want to go for it? Arctic isn't even level 4. Dominator's Ascent coming down. Chessmaker still winning out in the retro battle. Now Jolton is going to be caught in the fadeaway, almost takes him down. Argentina losing out in the kill and the neutral objective department.
Yep, losing out in both there. Great setups. This is Shikaku, being able to pull it off with this Edith. Like we said, it follows through with that, the being frozen, basically, and having Mateus picking up this Aurora. Something that Argentina always has to be careful of when they're even just rotating to respond or going to one of the side lanes even. With this, Shikaku Styles still going to be fine. Doesn't have a problem with Wrath just yet, but gets out without much anything else here. So first item's not locked in just yet, obviously. Still working on those. Fury Hammers across the board. At least a couple here for Brazil. A little bit of extra burst damage going to go ahead and help them through. And now also, when we talk about these objective fights, now that those level 4s are all in hand, Civ can show up to the fight if they really need to call for it, where he comes in with a Spear of Destruction. But, at the same time, it's kind of like, for Argentina, for this lineup that they have, should they be able to actually play into an early game? Do they have a power spike potential, or is it just better for Brazil right now in the early game?
I think it definitely, when it comes to setup, is better for Brazil, but there are ways where Argentina can actually utilize their composition as well to win out in these fights. Comes down to the execution department again. If Cario didn't get picked off, he should have been able to get a Minions Fury whenever Brazil actually wanted to go for a dive. And that would definitely give an opening for Arctic, for Jotun to get in there, and obviously for Meteoro to go for the Dominator's Ascent. So there are ways for Argentina to actually contest for the neutral objective.
Oof.
Just can't get picked off. It's a big ask right now, because for Brazil, they're just staying proactive all around the map. Already setting up for the neutral objective as Jotun picks up the purple buff. It does seem like they're going to be quite behind when it comes to the rotation. Chessmaker already there, despite Jotun being a level ahead. Akira setting up Dominator's Ascent coming down, penalty zone as well. Retro Battle, it's still Chessmaker despite being a level down. 2-man knockup with the Earth Shatter now. The Dominator's Ascent not available to deal enough damage. And it's another pickoff win for Brazil. They get a neutral objective, they get a kill, and now they rotate down below.
And it's, hold on, mid lane? Oh, they get the passive, of course. So Mateus going to be fine, but yeah, this is now 2 kills on Shikaku Style, by the way. Able to pick up those and work around with. Now for Brazil, they're going to go ahead and get a turret out of this whole exchange too, so they might possibly trade across the map. Looks like they're going to do that. Mid lane too, it looked like they were still focusing on Mateus, but they're going to be forced back. Luckily, Shikuku Style was there to help Mateus out. That's a whole mouthful, isn't it? But Kira now, part of this fight, they're still trying to hold down the mid lane. But for the most part, they traded the tier 1s, you know, cross map for now. Argentina is pretty good at that. You know, when they find these losses on the map, they always go and look for a win, even if that's just a turret, even if it's just getting some of these battle spells out or what have you. Argentina has done a good job throughout the series of being able to trade with Brazil, and that could play a big part in how they try to turn things around here. It's nothing too crazy, you know, it's less than 1,000 gold. So the plays that Argentina are making, the fact that Civ is able to farm up and do his thing is going to be helpful for Argentina. And even at the same time, Jotun, you know, he hasn't died. He hasn't necessarily been able to do too much just yet on Hayabusa. And at some point, you know, once you get past the early to mid game transition, you start to get the late game. Obviously, your chances of getting just those assassinations kind of falls off a bit. And you then have to kind of adjust the play style on the fly from there. Whereas over on the other side, obviously with Chessmaker, you know, he's really relying on this portion of the game, the early burst that he can pump out, but even on Mateus or Shakuku style, to being able to use that CC that they have and then kind of just swoop on in, pop the damage. You can see it. He picks up the Skypiercer already. At this point, again, Jotun right on point too. So both junglers having these Skypiercers available could play a big part in now the objective fights here. The one thing they have to watch out for is that there's the setup.
Onward Flicker. Now Midas Fury catching 4. That's the combo we were waiting for. As Civ jumps in deep into the back line. Akira's still able to flicker out, but Arctic goes in for the chase. Akira burning down that glowing one. But he's still able to survive. Argentina clap back in the 7th minute of the game, and it's through that crazy setup that we were talking about. If Cario can get a Minions Fury in while all of them are diving, it's going to be massive. And yeah, that's exactly what happened.
It's exactly what they had to do, because if they ended up losing that team fight and then losing the turtle, that would have been the start of, you know, things kind of slipping out of hands here. So with that, you could see actually the farming potential for Civ has been great. You know, Crystal Scythe, Golden Staff already locked in, working on that 3rd item already. You got a glowing wand tier 2 for Meteoro, and even on the Thunderbelt here, Thunderbelt for Arctic alongside he's building the next item. And like I said, the Skypiercer picked up earlier from Jotun, so they're actually farming up really well. Now that it's relatively pretty much even across the board here, you can see even damage potential. You know, Jotun just a little bit ahead of course, Chessmaker because of the way the Shadow Kill works. And so really, you know, I think you've been saying this the whole series, man. It's like execution, because both these teams throughout from game 1 to now has been pretty even, you know, in macro, the micro that they play. And it's showing here, especially at this point, this game number 3, taking things a little bit more slower too. Actually, no, the game 2 was a lot slower because we had a 1-1 for the longest time. You know, a little more action here this time around for Brazil, especially. They try to hold down to this tier 2. It's nearly gone. Civ doing work again. This is the pressure of a Mozkov. Okay, he didn't take that. I thought he might be able to try to take that from Chessmaker. Chessmaker utilizing that retribution. So they hold it together. 26 away from this Lord, though. Both teams getting in position the best they can. VW holding down that wave there. They want this tier 1 in the mid lane. They know they need it for a little bit of an advantage, but the buffs are going to come up here. You'll see both teams kind of get situated for this big fight.
And it's all about equal again, right? Despite the first 2 turtles going to Brazil, despite a lot of the kills also being held by Brazil, if you take a look at the gold lead, it's not a gold lead at all. It's 500 technically for Argentina, and you can already see Civ on it. They're really trying to force Brazil to go for a dive. Again, the counter engage with Cario. That has to be the plan coming in from Argentina. They need to find a massive Minions Fury. And again, for the Minions Fury, as long as he pops it and it flickers forward, it's all good. That's anti-CC. He cannot be stunned unless they have a suppression, which it doesn't look like they do, right? Not with this composition. Jotun as well, just waiting in that bush. Actually seeing that a few members are low, jumps in. Brings VW back with the Lycan Pounce. No one's there. The Dominar's Descent comes down. VW still able to flicker out to safety. The Dominators Ascend still chunking their HP bars. Ario finding Shikaku style, and he's going to try to look for an onward now. Arctic in the midst of it all jumps in, has the vengeance still. That's Akira again jumping in. Jolton finding the kill on the Chessmaker. A great assassination there as he picks up the Lord as well. Shikaku gonna be falling into the shadow kill. This might be a Savage coming down. Mateus gonna be taken very low, still able to go with the winner's crown as well. Mateus falling. Civ picking up the kill. 4-1, and the Lord going to Argentina.
Oh, Argentina. Talk about taking everything from Brazil in that exchange. And again, that all started with a mistake. And maybe he couldn't even help it. VW, you know, going into that pounce, being dragged so far, and then going on the defense. They knew once that happened, and once those spells were used and everything else to keep that from being a bad situation, Argentina was like, let's go ahead and start up the Lord. They end up pressuring the fight. Gets a little chaotic for Brazil. And then they punish even further by getting the Lord, getting a triple kill for Jotun here. So now, you know, scaling wise, he's in a great position. I mean, look at how much damage he's done already in this Hayabusa. So much more than Chessmaker. Ooh. He's going to pop the shadow kill again.
Doing a whole lot of damage. Yeah, like you said, damage dealt is definitely racking up here. Civ piercing damage through the base turret, taking Mateus to half HP. Shikaku style already using the armor earlier. Chessmaker jumps in. He gets bursted down. Arctic is still taking a whole lot of the shots. Civ still going for the siege. Jolton gonna be taken very low. Like can pounce to shut him down. And finally, this ninja gets dealt with by Brazil.
Man, I'm surprised. Jotun gets caught up there on top side. Not sure what he was trying to accomplish. So Brazil goes ahead, finds a little breathing room. All base turrets were at least hit a little bit. You know, the most healthy one there on the top side, but what a play already with that first Lord take from Argentina, able to put so much pressure on Brazil, and now it's up to Brazil to kind of slow the bleeding a little bit here because of just how things went. See some key items being picked up, of course. VW getting that Malefic Roar. Chessmaker's got to somehow, you know, catch up, and this is why we were talking about it in the draft, man. Like, this Nolan pick was a iffy. Like, I mean, it shows too. So far, Chessmaker, aside from being able to get those 2 turtles earlier on with the team, like, he hasn't been really able to put the pressure that we've seen Jotun do to them. And so at some point, it's like, all right, well, Chessmaker, where is he able to do that? How does he set that up? Could this be it?
Onward Earth Shatter? Arctic pops into Vengeance. Jotun goes over the back line now with a shadow kill too. Mateus doesn't have the passive. Gamo's gonna fall down. Jotun picks up almost a double. Chessmaker barely survives that shadow kill. And it's all due to them going on to Arctic, who still had the Vengeance. Ario walks forward, trying to go for the stun. Chessmaker now able to dish out some damage, forcing Jotun back to the quad shadow. As he goes back in again, Motivation Roar, saving them Shikaku style. Back on the Primal Wrath, able to clear out the waves. With 3 members down in the base turret, down in the bottom lane. That's the far lane, away from the Lord. Yeah. Argentina should be able to get this Lord for free now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man, you saw... Like, that is the worst nightmare of teams that play against a Hayabusa. Your backline is just trying to stay away, trying to stay in the back, but then they get picked off anyway. And then your front line is completely away from being able to protect that back line. And Jotun has done an amazing job at really trying to find those angles and put that pressure on the back line for Brazil to kind of just be too lost in the chaos, you know? And it is good that Chessmaker didn't go down in that because he got so low. But they did lose, of course, a base turret. Now they got to shortly deal with this Lord push in here. And you can bet that Argentina is going to actually push this one a little bit further, taking down all the turrets if they can. Of course, for Brazil, they got to be able to clear things out. Clear speed wise and defensive wise, they don't have, you know, the best lineup for this. They should be able to clear some of the waves, of course, at a decent pace, but utilizing possibly even some of the ultimates to stay in this game, because they have that Lord charging up into the bottom side. I set here in the mid. They still have to work through that. Couple hits on the mid. Top's going to go down here as Civ's working it on. Let's see if they can defend this. It's going to be a fully exposed base. Everything online. Curio, this could be his moment to set things up.
Victor's gonna brute force the mid lane base turret there without minions. Oh, again! Johnson back and forth. VW almost taken down. Now it's gonna be 3-man. Oh, no, they actually are able to dodge away from it with the penalty zone into their front. Johnson still able to find a kill now. Akira gonna be very low. Civ able to shot enough damage to take him down, even dashing away there with the Abyss Walker out of the snowballs coming in. Johnson still in the midst of it all, jumping with the quad shadow, going to be taken down, with the base was wide open for Argentina to take, and they will be able to get the reverse sweep done.
Argentina, man. Talk about a series here. Talk about, yeah, a reverse sweep for Argentina to turn things around throughout the series, learning in game 1, adjusting to game 2, and what they were accomplishing here for game 3. You know, I questioned, I was like, man, I wonder how Jotun would be. You know, he doesn't get the Julian. Well, my goodness, his performance here on the Hayabusa was even better, in my opinion. I loved watching him play this Hayabusa. Being able to target the right targets, get to the back line there, and put pressure and cause more chaos against Brazil was exactly what you need to do. As we take a look at the highlights here, you're going to see it. You know, it started early on where Brazil had the lead, and, you know, they end up going and getting these objectives at first. And, you know, from this, once again, losing these early team fights could be demoralizing for some teams out there. But Argentina, they kept a cool head. They continued to farm. They continued to trade across the map. And that's the main thing. I think Argentina does an amazing job at that. If they lose on some front, they gain something on another. And that's what they did continuously throughout the series here. And everybody, part of this team, definitely, I mean, for the series whole, deserves an MVP, because it was definitely a team effort. This is clearly, you can see them, that they have a synergy here, that they've worked on it, that the communication is on point too. I mean, even with that Jotun going down here, it's like, you know, he just got caught out by VW. It's minor things they could adjust, but still, even with this play, you know, look at the back line, man. He just put so much pressure. And by the time, you know, Shukaku Styles like, oops, we got to get to the back line, he's gone, you know. And that's the power of having this Hayabusa pick. Even in this exchange towards that base push, you know, it was just really well played here from Argentina. Even Jotun going back, healing back up, coming back to the fight, you know, gets the attention. But then this just allows Civ to do his thing. And I think that's always what I talk about when I say the gold lane experience. This was it for Civ. He did the same thing, man. He just farmed up, did his thing, got to the point where he was a big threat in terms of damage if he was allowed to pop off here, because you could see he was relatively close to Jotun's damage. But, you know, and if the game went on a little bit longer, it would have been Civ that was that big threat now for them. But, you know, that one was 15 minutes, a little bit longer than the previous one. But definitely Argentina adjusted very quickly throughout the series, because remember, game 1 was quite a long game. So great showing here, great reverse sweep from Argentina.
Really well played, I would say, just game overall, because again, it was Brazil who were leading at the start of the game, but I think it came down to just them executing it better. The whole pattern, the whole what's it called? Yeah, basically the pattern of the entire day, I would say. It's just teams out executing each other, right? And this game in particular, Chessmaker, even though he played really well, the whole team did in the early game, they weren't able to utilize that early game lead to fully take control. And because of that, it was the late game carries that were able to shine for Argentina. And it was Civ this time around on the Moskov. Moskov just becomes super prior, right? I mean, both games that we saw the Moskov, those were wins. I don't know what that says about Moskov, but hey, take a look at the item builds here with the 3-item power spike that he got. He actually decides to go for the nature, and then no boots at all. He decides to sell the boots for the Wind Talker. I would say pretty normal build that we see a lot from the Moskovs, especially towards the later stage of the game when it gets to these tough spots, especially when you want to try to end the game. Yeah, boots don't matter. Just go ahead, go Wind Talker, and get the base.
Yeah, again, it was a great opening day, I would say. You know, of course, here for the American regional qualifiers, because we came into this, like I said, we came into the first match not having a ton of information on, you know, everything, but now we get a good picture on how things can fall into place, especially for the next days ahead of us. I know it's been a long day, of course, for us here at Mirko. We had a lot of sweeps, 3 sweeps in a row. long night, long day, whatever time it is now. The sun's up, the birds are chirping. But I thank you guys for all joining us, of course, here on the opening day for MLBB here, of course. We still do have more days ahead of us, so we'll be back for it tomorrow, or make sure you guys keep an eye out on the schedule as well. We'll keep you guys all informed for that. Again, I am Naisu. This is Mirko. Thank you for joining us for day number 1. We'll be back tomorrow for day number 2 of the American Regional Qualifiers, the road to WEC. So sit tight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.